The first person that I see is Katie. Go ahead, Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie. I am a social work, human social services student, and I have been at Columbus State for, I think, 3 years now. I have 2-ish classes left and one more practicum, and then I'll be done.
Wow, wonderful. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Almost there.
Yay. And next person that I see is Gio. Please introduce yourself, Gio.
Okay, hi, my name is Gio, and I'm in my last semester at Columbus State before I transferred to OSU, and I'm in social work.
Yay! It's nice to meet you, Gio, and we're going to celebrate your graduation. Gio actually is a peer advocate in our Office for Student Advocacy, so we're excited to have him join us. Next person I see is Brianna.
Hi, I'm Brianna. I go by Bree, but I have been at Columbus State for about, I think like 2 years, and I'm doing social and human services. I'm kind of the same as Katie. I have like 2 classes left in a practicum, so.
Awesome. Wow, we have a lot of social and human services students here today. And Shakila, is it Shakila? Am I saying that right?
Yes, you got it right. Hi,
Wonderful.
I'm Shakila. I'm studying computer science. I've been in the program 2 years. I've been at Columbus State 3 because I transferred programs. Hopefully, I will be graduating next year. So.
Wonderful. Well, welcome to Columbus State. And I know you've been here for a while, but that's awesome. We're happy to have you here today as well. And last but not least, Liberty, if you could introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Liberty. I'm also in the social work and human services program. I've been here for about 4 years now, and I'm graduating this semester.
Wonderful. Wow, we have 2 graduates this semester. That's great. Wonderful. So with that being said, I know we have a limited time, and we have about 12 questions. You know, at this point, if people chime in or respond to questions and we don't make it through the whole entire list, that's okay too. These are just questions that we're going to try to have and try to get to, but you know, if it ends up being a good conversation, we may not get to all the questions. So because I think that what you have to say is more important than making sure we answer all these little questions on the sheet. So and they're kind of a guide for us to begin with. So the first question is, well, let me say this too. As I'm asking the questions, I'll do the same thing that I did just now so that we don't end up having people talking over everybody, if that's okay with everyone. And if you have a question as I'm talking, feel free to raise your hand or let me know so I can see, because I can see all of you on the screen, the student panelists on the screen. Okay, so number 1, what does self-care mean to you? And I'll go in with Katie first again.
Okay. So, for me, self-care is just, you know, I've kind of grappled with it for a really long time to figure out what it means to me. And at this point, it's pretty simple. It's just about being gentle and kind to myself. And what that might look like day to day kind of depends on what I need. It's about listening to my heart and my body and just the process of that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Gio, what does self-care mean to you?
Well, really, it's a basic meaning for that. Just understanding my body first before understanding, you know, understanding others. Let's see. I mean, that's pretty much just understanding my body and being sure that it's functioning and running properly every day. You know, making sure I'm not all in, you know, in a mess.
Wonderful. Shakila, what does self-care mean to you?
Self-care means taking care of myself, because I believe sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves. I think it's the human nature to try to take care of everybody else and take care of, our family, our friends, worry about everybody else, and we forget about ourselves. So that's self-care, when you're intentionally taking care of yourself and remembering yourself when you're having a hard time, and accepting that sometimes that is okay. It's okay to put yourself first.
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes we have to practice that. I know I'm guilty of that sometimes too. Liberty, how about you?
Self-care to me means learning how to be mindful to myself and to my own needs, and basically just having the skills to recognize when I need something and how to take care of myself.
Thank you. Very good. And Bree, how about you? Self-care.
Self-care for me is learning to like love myself no matter what and take care of myself no matter like the situations that I'm going through, and always making time for myself and not getting lost in making time for everybody else.
Very good. Man, some good answers. It's good to see young people, and I say that lightly, but I won't give my age, but to really understand that concept, especially during these times, to take care of yourself comes first, because in order to be successful, you have to focus on you. So I love to hear those answers. Number 2, what is your self-care routine, and does it change depending on what's going on in a given week? And I'm going to go in the same order. Go ahead, Katie.
So for me, I kind of look at self-care into 2 different categories. So the first category is more of the like leisure activities. So, traditional bubble baths and bath bombs, retail therapy, hanging out with my friends, that type of thing. But I also really try to consider more essential tasks to be self-care. So, when you're getting around to doing laundry that you've been putting off for 2 weeks, to turn that into a self-care activity and look at it mindfully, and preparing my future self and looking at it like, oh, I'm taking care of myself. I'm going to have nice clean clothes. They're all going to be put away. My space is going to be more healthy and happy. And so really looking at those more leisure activities and mandatory stuff as my self-care. So it just kind of depends what I have going on from week to week, but I try to do both.
Thank you. Gio, you're next. What is your self-care routine, and does it change depending on what's going on in a given week?
Okay, so basically my self-care is, every day or weekly. I try to focus on myself, by reading or writing, what's happened during the week. Try to kind of release myself from, I'm sorry, one second. Release myself from the things that have happened during that week.
Okay. Thank you, Gio. Shaquila. Sorry, Shaquila.
Shaquila, you got it right. I have a lot of things I kind of do as self-care, and they definitely do change from day to day. I do like Katie said. I did actually just do this last week, where I had to get up. I cleaned my house up from top to bottom, washed some dishes, washed my clothes, got my kids' clothes together. And that's not, oftentimes the things you think of when you think of self-care, but sometimes it make you feel better to have a clean space. But then other times I do things like I'll go out, I'll get my lashes done, I'll get my nails done. And sometimes I'll just go and I'll have lunch with myself, by myself. And I take myself out and realize that, hey, if I don't love myself first, then nobody else will. And then other times it's just coming to terms with who I am, accepting my emotions, accepting that, maybe I wasn't okay today, and releasing that. Sometimes, self-care can be crying. Sometimes self-care can be eating the whole cake. It just depends on what makes you happy, make you feel better in the moment. And it's not beating yourself up about who you are. And it's just so many different things that go into self-care. And like I said, mine change daily, just depending on what I need.
Great. I love that you take yourself out to eat. I love that. I need to do that. That's good advice. Liberty, how about you?
Similar to what Katie and Shaquila said, self-care is usually like leisurely to me, but also doing tasks. Like I make sure I get up in the morning, do my laundry, clean my room. That usually leaves me feeling like recharged and better generally. And other than that, I just make sure I take breaks when I need them. And at the end of the day, I always like to journal because I feel like it grounds myself a little bit. Yeah.
Journal, that's a good one. I've told students to use that. Good one. Thank you. And Bree.
So for me, I mean, self-care, my routine at least, like depends on the week and what I have going on in my work schedule. But for the most part, try to like keep my room cleaner, and before I go to work or go anywhere in the morning, like make my bed, make sure everything's like organized, and then like Shakila said, I like to go out and get my nails done occasionally and everything else to just make myself feel good and like reward myself for everything else that I'm doing.
Wonderful. Thank you. So what do you do to recharge during any downtime? If you have downtime, what is that, right? And I'm gonna start with Katie again.
So for me, my favorite thing to do in downtime is to watch ASMR videos. So for those of you who may not know what that is, it stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. So it's basically that feeling when, if somebody's playing with your hair and you like kind of get relaxed and tired, or like tracing on your back or something. So it's like that, but through videos. So if anybody's ever seen those satisfying video compilations where people are like cutting soap, or sometimes it's visual, sometimes it's the auditory. I don't know how I got into watching these videos, but there's like a whole community on YouTube that makes these videos, and at this point it's like the thing that puts me to sleep. Like I can't sleep without watching those videos. So even if it's something weird like that, I think just little stuff like that is important to have in your downtime, even if it's only, you can only do it for like 10 minutes or something. I think it's good.
And what are those again? ASMR, like ASYMAR?
So it's ASMR. It's just those letters because it stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response.
Okay. Interesting. I'm going to check those out.
And some of them, it could even be, like guided meditations, or I don't know. Some of them are, it's always weird trying to explain what it is. But I have found it to be super, super helpful in my life, in trying to relax and unwind from the day. Because I'm the type of person that I have a hard time falling asleep at night because my brains just will not shut down from the day. So these videos are pretty helpful to me.
That is actually a good tool that you might want to put in the chat so that people have that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, definitely. Gio, how about you?
Well, give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
So I also like to watch the ASMR videos before bed. Excuse me, I never thought of watching ASMR videos before bed. But I will watch videos a lot, catch up on shows that I missed throughout the week, things like that. Most of the time, I'll just sit, relax. I love to journal or do any kind of writing. The past few months, I've really been writing a lot of stories about what's going on in my mind. And yeah, whatever that leads to.
Awesome. I love that you write stories. That's interesting. That's good. Okay, Shakila, what do you do?
Well, I'm a mother of 2 boys, so it's very
downtime.
rare that I get downtime. But when I do, I have a mindful breakfast. Like, if you don't have kids, you won't quite understand that you have no time to yourself. Like, if I'm trying to eat anything normally, my kids are running up and they're like, Mom, can I have some? Mom, can I try that? My baby, he will be 1 in March, the end of March, and he be, So he wants my food too. So what I do is I'll sit down. I might cut on my favorite show. I'll eat breakfast. And I actually sit down at a table and eat breakfast. And that's a little thing, but for me, that's a big thing. So it's not always the big things, but sometimes it's the little things that you don't get to do. So it's breakfast, watch my favorite show. I'll work out and I'll just enjoy the time. Like sometimes it's yoga, sometimes it's meditation. And that's two of my favorite things I do during my downtime. Or I take a nap. Sometimes, naps are amazing.
Absolutely. I can imagine, because I remember back in the day with when my kids were younger, just sitting in the quiet for a second is that's self-care right there too. So, okay, Liberty, how about you?
Usually in my downtime, I've been really into reading, and I feel like right now that's the easiest way for me to sort of relax and recharge and just put my mind somewhere else for a little bit. But also now that the weather's getting better, I've been going on more walks when I have breaks. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Bree?
When I get my downtime or to recharge or whatever, it usually is like just being alone in my room by myself, being able to like meditate or just take a nap and relax and release everything else.
Great. I love the idea of meditation too. So what tools and tips have your friends or family recommended for you? Or even instructors, whatever, whoever.
So for me, my best friend Rachel is actually the one who kind of introduced me to the idea that self-care doesn't have to be like this whole huge glamorous day where you spend a lot of money and, get a lot of things done. It can be those mundane tasks that we've talked about, and just being mindful and taking those moments while you're doing the not so fun essential things in your day.
I agree. Sometimes I like to think huge, like trips and vacations, but just a moment's a good time too. Yeah. All right, Gio, what do you think? What tools and tips have your friends recommended?
My family generally recommends that I use art therapy for myself, with just at home, myself, maybe some friends, and use art to help bring out and acknowledge what it is that we're feeling. And usually that'll be kind of a group activity and there'll be a group discussion about feelings.
Love it. Art therapy. We haven't heard that yet. I figured that would be one of the top ones, actually. Shakila, go ahead.
One that was recommended to me was poetry. The other is going out with friends. As I said, I am a mom, so a lot of my stuff is definitely mom-centered. But oftentimes I don't make time for friends and just hanging out and to have like girl time or to go out and eat with friends and stuff. I'm just focused on my family. So that's been a major one that has helped me, trying to go out, trying to actually have a social life and not just being in the house.
And that's challenging right now for all of us to not just be in the house right now. So yeah, I think that's key for all of us to take, is to go outside if we can. And then Liberty, you're next.
My friend is really into just lighting candles that are like aroma therapy candles from Bath and Body Works and baths, basically. And also my family thinks I should try out meditation too, so I've been that's that as well.
Oh, good. And then Bree, how about you?
Family and friends have recommended taking the time to journal and reflect on my feelings, and then taking walks or writing poetry and other stuff like that.
Very good. What's a self-care activity that you can do if you only have 5 minutes or an hour? So a 5-minute one and an hour one. And this is good. This would be something that you might recommend to somebody.
So my one of my favorite quick ones is to use mantras or just different phrases that I find encouraging. And I have a hard time actually using them sometimes. So I try really hard to, write them down in places that I'll actually see them and like be forced to look at them. So one of the ones that I've been kind of resonating on recently is the concept of I have all I need, whether it's, I don't know, I have a roof over my head and unfortunate and stuff. And all of the accumulation of my experiences so far have prepared me for anything that's coming up. So, like, just kind of taking phrases like that or concepts like that, I have all I need. And in those moments where I need 5 minutes to like get my crap together and calm down, I try to use that type of thing. For when I have an hour, probably more physical stuff, so like stretching or trying to do yoga or a walk or something like that would probably be one of the activities I'd do if I had a little bit more time.
Thank you. And Gio, how about you? 5 minutes and then an hour.
If I only had 5 minutes to do something, I would sit down and try to just open up my mind and think clearly enough to go on with the rest of my day. If I had an entire hour, I would sit down, open up my laptop, and try to look on YouTube for something that's going to benefit me in my life and watch it.
Good, thank you. Shakila, I keep doing that. I am so sorry, Shakila.
You are fine. For 5 minutes, I definitely do clear my mind. Just breathe. Don't think about anything. Just clear your mind, because the rest of the day your mind will probably be stressed out about all the tasks and things you have to do. Just sit there and literally breathe for 5 minutes and think about nothing. For a whole hour, for me, it'll be either sitting down watching my favorite show or taking a nap.
If you can get an hour, right?
Yes. The nap is definitely needed when you have that whole hour to just recharge, because sometimes we got to recharge. You wake up on the wrong side of the bed or things just get overwhelming, and that nap can just reset you. Like, naps are amazing. If you've never had a nap, please take a nap.
Liberty, how about you?
For 5 minutes, I'd usually just really quickly write down anything that I'm feeling right then, just to get my feelings out, because that usually just takes a few minutes. And an hour, probably something like yoga, or maybe I'd go to like High Banks and hike for a bit or something. Yeah.
Love High Banks Park. If you haven't been there, you should go, because it's a good relaxing time there, being outside, and beautiful. Bree, go ahead.
For 5 minutes, I would probably just take a minute to breathe, and then my other thing is like reading quotes or something. Like on Instagram, I follow different pages and they post like daily quotes and stuff like that. So like read one of that and like keep it in my head for the day. For like an hour, I would probably take a nap, or maybe take time to like socialize and get dinner with a friend, or maybe just FaceTime somebody and chat. So something like that.
Goes back to catching up with our friends. That seems to be a little pattern that we're hearing right now, huh? Definitely. So, what's something in particular you've done for your mental health and for your physical health?
So I have a couple of these. One of the number one things, therapy, I think is really, really important. I'm in the process of going again, but I've been putting it off. So maybe this is the motivation for me to actually get on it and go back in. I'm the type of person who can like really get inside my head. And so for my mental health, I try to identify my different support people that I know are the ones that help me get outside of my head and, back into reality and kind of ground myself. For physical health, my favorite thing in the world is swimming. It's just, I don't know. I think it's a lot easier than doing like going to the gym to work out. So And I don't know, something about being in the water is really, really calming. And then also for physical and mental health, I guess, acupuncture. It's not, I haven't been able to get it in a while, but I really, really like getting acupuncture because not only is the act of it itself really healing and relaxing, but usually you spend about 30 minutes just laying there. And so you kind of have to turn your brain off and have to, take some time with yourself. So, yeah.
Thank you. Gio, how about you?
In terms of mental health, like what folks just said there, what Sakita said, therapy is a great way to understand actually how your body works in terms of your brain and your body working together. For a physical care activity, I don't do it that much because I have a disability. And so most of the time when I go out, I walk around with friends if I'm able to make it out, but I don't necessarily get that much there.
Thank you, Gio. Shaquila?
For physical, I bicycle. And I would say that definitely does also help the mental because I was overweight. I was like 230 pounds at one time. And when I started bicycling, I lost so much weight. I got down to 165. So that also helped my mental because some of my mental came from looking at myself as overweight, feeling overweight, out of breath, tired, and all that. So I think bicycling helps both the physical and the mental, but also sometimes a counselor is needed. You can go to counseling, and that'll help you because you'll become way more aware of the way you think. Like Gio was saying, the way you think and how you process stuff. And then it also helps because the person that you're talking to, they're not going to judge you. They're not your friends or family. So they're not going to look at you like, oh, well, you should do it like this or do it like that. They're professionals. They're trained to talk to you. And they will talk to you and give you great advice, honestly. And the counselor I went to, he was amazing. He didn't necessarily give me advice. He made me work it out within myself, and we have a conversation. He'll be like, "Oh, well, what about this? What about that?" And so I do know Columbus State does offer counseling, and there is actually a new counselor. Her name is Sharita Cook. So I'm going to shout her out real quick. So she's definitely available. But yes, I do recommend counseling.
Wonderful. Thank you for that plug. That is a very good addition to our counseling team, and we appreciate that. Liberty, go ahead.
I also find that therapy really helps for mental health, but other stuff like FaceTiming my friends usually puts me in like a more positive mindset and helps me sort of just feel ready for the day and the week. And for physical health, just again, like hiking and taking walks and yoga sometimes as well, but mostly hiking.
I'm a hiker too, so I agree with that. Bree, go ahead.
So something that I've done for my mental health is trying to remind myself not to overthink everything or like even like the littlest things, like just coming to terms with like, okay, it is what it is, like don't overthink it. On the physical health side, I try to like make time each week at least to make sure I'm eating something healthy because like I'm always on the go. It's so easy to just grab a bag of chips or something else. So I try to like prep, like cut up some fruit or vegetables to take with me or just eat something healthy to make me feel better.
Awesome. We need to refuel our bodies. And depending on what that means to some of us, refueling can be riding your bike, eating healthy, hiking, swimming, going for walks. Connecting with our friends definitely helps us refuel. They all have different ways. I noticed that Terry put information about counseling services in the chat if anybody has questions or needs that. Also, to our group that's other than the panelists, if you have suggestions or thoughts, you could put those in the chat as well. And so we can all kind of look at those and share those. And especially for this next question, and that's why I'm saying if you have one, put it in the chat, but I'm going to ask all the panelists to share this with us too. What is one new mobile app that you have found to be helpful? I'm excited to hear these. So go ahead, Katie.
I wish I had something more interesting to say for this one, but honestly, just YouTube, because it's free, it's easily accessible. There's a ton of stuff on there. Like I said, those ASMR videos that I love. And then even just music. The other day I tried looking for, I have ADHD, like super bad. And so I was looking for, there's supposedly wavelengths, so sounds that are supposed to be helpful to keeping you on task and comfortable. And so I tried looking up those while I was doing my assignments the other day, and it helped a little bit, but I didn't find one that I liked. But you know, that just shows how good YouTube is, because there's a ton of different options. It's not like just 2 videos to pick from. So yeah, that's mine.
Thank you. That's good. Gio, any apps?
Well, I'm trying to think of an app. I don't really have one. So it would be YouTube. If I had to say one, I think that's an app, you know, for the AMR videos as well. My struggle is, you know, the captioning. So most of the videos and things don't have captioning, and if it does, it's not perfect. So
sometimes that causes issues with my mental health, because like I want to watch a video, but I'm not able to access it. So it can kind of, you know, be a pinprick. And then I just turn to journaling and other self-care things to get me back up again.
Yes. Thank you, Gio. I know it can be frustrating at times. Go ahead, Shakila. Tell us what an app is that you like.
I definitely agree with Katie on the music thing. I love Pandora because there's the different stations, and sometimes when I'm feeling down, I can find a song that just, you know, changed my mood by lifting me up, because I love music too. And then I would say the other app is TikTok. TikTok is hilarious. If you have not been on TikTok or you don't do TikTok, try it.
Yes.
I tried to do some of the different challenges, and that by itself will have your mind think about something completely different than stress. Because if you're sitting there trying to do dance challenges, and if you can't dance like me, you're going to spend hours trying to perfect the dance that you know you're never going to get, and probably never even post, but it'll make you feel good inside. And then that's a little bit of physical exercise at the same time. So, hey.
Yes. Liberty, go ahead.
So I have an app called Tangerine that I use pretty much daily, because it has like a built-in sort of calendar and reminder function where you can sort of plan out self-care routines and self-care habits. And then it also has like a journal function with different like topics like gratitude and releasing anxiety and releasing stress and stuff like that you can just write in whenever. So that's what I use mostly for self-care specifically.
Is that a free app?
Yes, it's free. Yep.
Well, wonderful. That's a good one to share for everybody to add. I think that's helpful with time management as well.
Yes, definitely.
So that's a good one that we could use as resources. For you future social workers, that's a good application. And for us in student advocacy, that would be a good application. So for students, go ahead, Bree.
My app is definitely TikTok. It's just nice to sit there and have a good laugh and just see the different things on there. And sometimes, like, they have the ASMR videos, and then there's like random videos with random facts that you're like, oh wow, I never knew that. So
awesome. I love it. I love that. Thank you. I don't know if anybody else put apps in there, but one of the apps, and I've been to, someone mentioned, was mindfulness. But as you had to like put a whole bunch of information in there, and I was worried I was going to get billed. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to back out of that. But I will make another plug for counseling services. There is the Hope and Health app from Counseling Services, and in that app, they have information about free apps for like mindfulness and meditation and things like that in there as well. So they also have self-help. So you might look at Counseling Services and look for that app. I have it on my phone, and it's good. You can just download it on your phone and you have it. Number one, it gives you resources in case you are talking with somebody who needs help or you need help, but it also has all kinds of other wonderful information as well. So, did I miss Bree? Bree, no, you talked about TikTok. Okay. What is something that you've been wanting to try?
So I have been wanting to try more guided meditation. I know that, you know, like we've been talking about, YouTube has a lot of different guided meditations and stuff for free as well, but it's kind of hard for me to really dedicate the time to that, because there's like other videos and stuff that I watch. So, the guided meditations take a little bit more effort on my part, and so I kind of tend to avoid them. But I definitely like guided meditation the few times I've done it before more than doing it on my own, because like I said, the ADHD thing, it's difficult to try and do it by myself. So I'd definitely say guided meditation is one that I really give a lot of thought to.
Thanks. Gio?
So I've been wanting to try more of DIY things. Yeah, so, you know, that would keep me busy and, you know, change my focus from school. Sometimes with school, it can be very overwhelming. So especially with my last semester, I really try to make the best of that time with, you know, trying to do some DIY things.
Okay, thank you, Gio. Shakila?
Mine is kind of a combination. Katie has been talking about the ASMR. She has definitely made that sound like amazing. So I definitely want to start trying that, because I've seen them on TikTok and Facebook pop up, and I'll find myself just staring like for a while, like, oh, this is like, it's a weird feeling that it gives you. And then what Gio said, the DIY stuff, what I was trying to do, I had kind of started it and got out of it. I want to try to start doing cake decorating and baking. I started kind of doing the baking and stuff, and then kind of school got a little overwhelming, but I know that something about making bread and just getting the pound on the bread and on the dough and stuff when you're making it, it makes me feel good. And then like making cakes, just kind of the perfection and using my hands and just not thinking about anything but what I'm doing in the moment. So those are two things I want to definitely try to do more of.
Not to mention it smells good and you get to eat it and test it, right? Your kids will be happy for a minute while they're over in the corner eating the brownies. You can watch your show, right? There's a method to your madness. I know it.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Liberty. Uh-oh.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I also like to try cooking for myself more, like meal preps and stuff like that. And also I have been reading a bit about coloring book therapy. Like you can get these adult coloring books, and I think that would be really relaxing and nice to do in my downtime. So I definitely want to try that.
I have done that, and it is kind of, you get lost. It kind of takes you back. Yep, see, Katie has it too.
Yeah, I have a bunch actually. I like right on my desk, I have several. Well, okay, this one is like, it's adult coloring books, but it's like curse words, which is fun. And then,
I may or may not have that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a bunch of them and I highly recommend them.
Yeah, I need to get into that.
Or even kids coloring books too. It doesn't
That's
have
true.
to be for adults. I've got a ton of Disney coloring books as well, because sometimes these are like they're so intricate
Yeah.
that it gets frustrating, and then it's the exact opposite of what you would want. So the Disney ones are just as good.
Yeah, definitely.
And cheaper.
Yes, like $1 at the dollar store. I love it. Go ahead, Bree.
Something I want to try more is like yoga and just like exercising, whether that's like stretching or going for a run or something. And the other thing would be I have like one of those Cricut machines that you can make like t-shirts and all that type of stuff with. So like maybe taking more time to learn how to make more things on there. That would be cool.
Awesome. I've been looking at those too. So what is something, what self-care happens in the winter, dark winter, versus spring and summer when we get to go outside and it's fresh air?
So I am really into decorating. So especially for Christmas or even after Christmas, like I just redid my bathroom in peaches. It's just peach stuff everywhere. It says peachy clean, you're a peach, just I don't know, random stuff like that makes me really happy to the process of decorating, shopping for stuff and then putting it up and then it's just nice to look at. So especially for winter, making, kind of nesting and making my area super cozy and blankets and onesies and that type of thing. And then the other thing is, a couple weeks ago when it was really snowy, my roommate brought home a sled and I went sledding in my backyard because we have a really big hill and it was super fun to just, let go. And it was physical too. Trying to climb back up that dang hill was really difficult, but I kept wanting to do it because it was so fun. And I think that's a lot of what the essence of self-care is to, look at those opportunities. And even if you feel silly being a 25-year-old who's sledding and screaming down the hill, like it really boosted my spirits because I was having a bad day that day. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go sled. And it was fantastic.
Love it. That sounds fun, actually. Go ahead, Gio.
All right, so during the winter, I'm not out of the house much. I don't spend much time out of the house. So what I do is I typically, clean up a little bit. I, use, seasonal decorations and things like that. With spring and things, you have Easter, so decorating for just the different holidays and things. Summer, that's typically the time where I'm out of the house and getting kind of, that natural scenery and breath of fresh air.
Wonderful. Shakayla?
I'm definitely not a winter person, so winter is definitely hard for me. But for the winter time, me and my husband, we do this thing called a staycation. We will go to a hotel. Now, this is kind of pre-COVID, but we will go to a hotel and we'll go swimming. Like, we'll stay in a hotel where it's all nice and clean and like they clean your stuff for you. You get my favorite. I'm not trying to like advertise them, but my favorite is the Embassy, Hilton Embassy. And we'll have like the little gathering thing that they have. We'll do that. And then we'll like go swimming. We'll get in the hot tub and all that. For summertime, it's definitely festivals. Now, like I said, this is pre-COVID. I love going out to the festivals, getting to walk around. One of my favorite, I would definitely say, is the art festival. I love to take my children. Well, I have one kid. It was canceled last year when I had my other kid. But my first son, and hopefully when they open back up, my second son. But we'll walk around, and the food truck festival, where we can definitely get all of the funnel cakes, because I'm a funnel cake addict. So I like to eat the funnel cakes and all that kind of stuff. So definitely just festivals, being outside in the sun, getting the exercise.
Yeah, love it. Bree, go ahead.
So for like winter time, definitely would be like sledding or like even Mad River Mountain and stuff. They have sledding and stuff too. Springtime, in winter I also like to do Christmas cookies. That's my other thing. Like decorate Christmas cookies. Springtime, I would say during Easter, like taking the time to decorate Easter eggs and dye Easter eggs and do that with like my friends and family. That's really something I look forward to.
Love it. That's coming up. We have 3 more questions left. You're almost there. The finish line is in sight. What specific self-care do you do during midterms and exams? This is really important, and it's coming up. Midterms are coming up.
I don't have a good answer for this one because I just simply don't let tests bother me anymore. I don't know how I got to this point because I'm very typically a very anxious person, but test anxiety is just the one thing that I don't have because I don't allow it to take up space in my brain anymore. So I'll study and know what I know, and that's all I got. So sorry, I don't have anything like awesome or life-changing for that one.
That's okay. That's okay. Liberty, I skipped you the last question, didn't I?
Yeah.
But you know why? Because turned off his camera. Not Geo. Jeff turned off his camera, and all of a sudden everybody switched around. So you're all out of order. I feel like it's the Brady Bunch, and I'm looking at my family. And but go ahead with both questions.
Okay. So in the winter, I feel like something about like cold weather in general. I just like to read during cold weather and make hot drinks like hot chocolate. I feel it's just a cozy thing, you know. And for spring and summer, just outdoor activities like hiking, walking. I'm really glad that it's getting warmer out, so I can do that more often. And midterm self-care. I try to like focus on time management and set specific times for studying and specific times for taking breaks, so I just don't get too overwhelmed. Yes, there's a cat behind me.
I know it is hard to get overwhelmed. It's kind of hard during midterms and finals to even find energy to do other things, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard. So, Geo, you're next on my screen.
Yeah, so when midterms and finals come around, usually it's the most stressful thing for me to get through that. So what I do for self-care is I get through the test as well as I can, so then I can just get past it and let go of it. But that's really all I can manage.
Thank you. Shaquila, go ahead.
I'm trying to get like Katie where I can just not stress about tests. But I am definitely a stressor. So for me, what I do is I'll try to study in advance, look over stuff, look at things. And then I think the thing that's most helpful for me is I'll just take the time and just try to calm myself down, especially right before I take the test. I'll take a few deep breaths and calm down and like, okay, and I'll talk to myself. I'll be like, okay, you can do this, you can do it. Don't stress yourself out. Don't like think negative, because if you start thinking negative, then it's going to be worse than what it really is. So for me, that's the most helpful thing that I do, because like I said, I'm a huge stressor about tests. Like I freak out. I'll be freaked out for a whole week before if I don't do these different things.
Thank you. That's good advice too. Bree, go ahead.
When it comes for like midterms or even like tests and quizzes in general, at least like bigger ones, the thing I found best for me was like doing flashcards, because it just helps me to like stay organized and not get overwhelmed and start stressing out. Because like when midterms come and there's a whole bunch of different ones, like I'll color code note cards or flashcards and then like study through those or read through those, because you can take them anywhere with you, and it just makes me feel more organized.
Thank you. Katie, I'm sorry, I was checking the chat to make sure there weren't any other things in there, so I got lost in my group of people. So actually Katie already answered. So then almost the last question. When you get off track with making sure you're doing self-care, this is a very good question actually. How do you refocus and get back on track? So important, especially during midterms and finals. How do you refocus and get yourself back to where you need to be and not be so stressed out and have test anxiety?
So for me, I kind of talked about this before, but I definitely have outside support system. I identify people that I know that I can trust and count on, that can kind of help me like talk myself out of being inside my head, and to remind me that it's I get into a lot of negative self-talk, and I have a lot of guilt for no reason. I just feel like a guilty person, and so when I'm kind of harping on that and start to spiral, it's like I need somebody to give me permission to start taking care of myself again. I'm not sure if anybody relates to that, but that's just kind of my process. And so, I try to have my support people notice when, because it's kind of, I don't know, it's probably obvious when I'm spiraling, and so they just kind of remind me it's okay to take care of you, and give me that permission to get back on track.
Thank you. Liberty?
So sort of the same thing. I just kind of talk with my friends, and they help ground me a little bit. But also the app I mentioned earlier, Tangerine, it has that calendar function where you can sort of set up routines for yourself, and you just use that to try to stick to it. So sometimes I just like make an entirely new routine on there, and it feels like a new start, so I can just go by whatever I put in there again and try to get back on track that way.
Thank you. I was trying to look up the Tangerine app and put a link. I hope this is the right one that I'm putting in the chat real quick. And then Gio, tell us what you do when you get off track.
So for me, most of the time I will, get off track and not necessarily get back to focus until somebody calls me out on it. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, that's happening. And then I can get back to focusing on what I wanted to. I also tend to be hard on myself, and I have some good outside support. But sometimes, I have to deal with it myself too. And that's the only way.
Yeah, that can be challenging too. Go ahead, Shakila.
For me, I guess the first thing is realizing that I'm off track. That can be me accepting that I'm off track, because sometimes I know I'm off track, but I'll keep acting like everything's fine. But then once I've realized that I'm off track, then the next step is just not beating myself up, because it's easy to beat ourselves up about being off track, but we're all human. Like, it's going to happen. It happens sometimes. And then the next thing is I plan, how do I get back on track? What does that look like? What steps do I take? Do I need to do this? Is it more time management? Is it because I'm having anxiety? Do I feel like I need to go talk to my counselor if it is anxiety? Or like, just make a game plan and then try to stick to the game plan as much as possible. And then normally that works, and I'm back on track after that, and I'm good.
I like the idea of having a game plan, because I do think that's important, and sometimes writing it down and having bullet points, because sometimes we're so overwhelmed we can't focus on what we need, and so we need to put it in little sections so we can kind of make it simpler for us when we're going through it. And I also agree with not beating yourself up, because usually that's one of the very first things we do. And I see that a lot with students and people I'm working with. So thank you. That's good advice. Bree, go ahead.
For me, it's basically it's coming to the realization and then having like a pep talk with myself. It's like, okay, you're getting off track. Like, you need to get yourself back together. Get back to doing this, get back to doing that. And that's really like all I do is like just reminding myself and realizing what I'm doing.
Yep. Constant reminder sometimes for us, huh? The very last question, and we have 5 minutes left. So I want to also just hear feedback from everybody too. how can you help others with their self-care? How can we look out for everybody in our community?
So for me, just like I've identified myself as someone who needs others to help me get back on track, I try to be the self-care cheerleader for a lot of my friends and just anybody, even people at my job, you know, and really encourage them and share what I know about my self-care journey. And then another thing I did want to mention that I don't think really came up in the questions is that it's important to be a strong self advocate when it comes for self care because since we were all talking about TikTok, I saw a TikTok a couple weeks ago where it was a social worker and it was a kind of a joke, but she was talking about how when you're a social worker and your caseload is really heavy, that you ask your supervisor about it and they're like, well, are you taking care of you? Are you taking your bubble baths? And the social worker's like, yeah, I've got self-care under control, but I'm just wondering if from an administrative view, if there's anything we can do to kind of lessen my caseload because I'm drowning over here. And the joke was that their administrator was just like, well, maybe just take more bubble baths. You know, maybe just do that. Not to knock on bubble baths because I love, but you know, it's important to be a self-advocate. And so I just wanted to put that out there too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead, Liberty.
Yeah, so I usually would help out by I think making self-care plans with your friends, like nothing that you have to do together necessarily, but sort of just planning out the steps together and sort of making sure you're both committing to it. And following a routine really helps a lot, so you can check in on each other, help each other out. Yeah, and that's basically it. Just checking in on each other and making sure you're all doing well with your friends. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Buddy system. Go ahead, Gio.
Definitely checking in with friends. That is a really good thing to do. And I do that. And I also let other folks know how it is that they can help me in the same way.
That's good. Shaquila?
For me, it's making sure, first of all, I'm okay. There's a saying that you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you're not okay or you're mentally drained, you definitely cannot help somebody else. You're taking on more than what you can deal with, and then ultimately you end up crashing. So first, I have to make sure I'm okay. And then once I'm okay, then I'll try to help others. And sometimes helping others may not be necessarily taking on their burdens or what they have going on. Maybe it's referring them to somebody that can help them. Maybe it's well, I know of this place. Maybe it's a counseling service. Maybe you know, if they're having a lot of stress because maybe it's a food shortage or something. Well, I know this food bank, or I know somebody and anywhere, Student Central, that can help you, or counseling service, or somewhere that can help you. And sometimes it's just referring your friends to somebody else that will help them while you're still getting yourself together. It's not necessarily taking on their burdens.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Bree, go ahead.
I feel like I can help like other people with self-care, like by recommending like the different things that I do, and like now knowing all these other different things, just like talking to them like, oh, do you take the time to do this? Do you maybe journal, or do you reflect on how you feel and things like that? And then maybe recommend like the ASMR videos, like coloring books, yoga, any of that.
Wonderful. Well, that ends our program, but I want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. I thought the insight that you guys gave to us is amazing. I mean, literally, it was amazing. And I think it also showed me that you guys are doing, hopefully you guys are doing really good with self-care yourself, because